Welcome to our TV network, your ultimate destination for all things exciting and essential. From mouth-watering food to the latest in fashion, health, education, music, movies, and news, plus thrilling sports and breathtaking travel. Our TV network brings it all to you. Tune in today and experience the best of every world, all in one place, rtv.network.
Hello and welcome to Connect Caribbean Report here on Callaloo Alliance Media, our TV network. We've got another informative episode lined up for you, shifting a little bit, still within the technological space, but focusing on the issue of the readiness or lack thereof the Caribbean in the financial technological arena. Our host and guests will be delving into FinTech solutions, looking at key considerations as it relates to regulatory framework, infrastructure, and digital literacy, among other topics. It's all coming up here on Connect Caribbean Report with my co-hosts, Ambassador Dr. Andre Thomas of Pleon Group, John Clendenin of the IC Group, and we have our guest today, Dave Sahandath. I hope I've got that pronounced correctly, Dave. And he's the chairman and CEO of Global Integrated FinTech Solutions, joining Ambassador Thomas in Connect Caribbean World, together with my guest, Kurt Prasad, co-founder and CTO of FinTech Islands. They will put forward their perspective and solutions to what they believe needs to happen to bring the Caribbean into the rapidly moving and changing financial technological age. And also joining us is Special Envoy Barbados to Suriname and Guyana, and she's joining Ambassador Thomas in Connect Caribbean World. I'm Jennifer Highland, your co-host here on Connect Caribbean Report, where we're bridging the islands, uniting communities, and unlocking new possibilities for the entire region. Stay tuned as we dive into the stories and innovations that are shaping the Caribbean's bright future. This is your front row seat to the next wave of regional transformation we're covering here on Connect Caribbean Report. We'll be right back with Ambassador Thomas and Connect Caribbean World right after these messages.
Reimagine a world where the Caribbean is seamlessly connected, where our people, our cultures, and our economies move freely across the islands. This is Connect Caribbean, more than a ferry service. It's the heartbeat of a new era, an era where economic opportunities expand, where trade flows freely across our seas, and cultural exchange flourishes. We are linking businesses, empowering communities, and reigniting the hope for a truly integrated Caribbean. Together, we're shaping a brighter, more unified future for the Caribbean. Connect Caribbean, connecting our islands, our people, our future.
Hello and welcome to Connect Caribbean, and today on Connect Caribe World, I have with me, as always, Ambassador, Special Envoy Alfie Wiggins. Great for you to join me today. Welcome. Okay, and then we have Dave Saharas. Dave is the CEO of Global Integrated FinTech Solutions. Dave, it's great to have you with us.
Thank you, Ambassador. My pleasure.
Yes. Well, Dave, let's go right into the questions I have for you. With your leadership, your understanding, expertise in the world of fintech solutions, what's your perspective on the cross border payment settlement problems we have in the region? And are there fintech solutions that can come from the private sector that can address them?
Yes, Ambassador, great question. I can almost respond by saying that we have all day, but certainly we'll try to condense, my answer for that. So, look, there are a few problems that we see as, for want of a better word, plaguing the progress of the industry in the world of cross-border payments. One of which, first of all, through no fault of technology, but technology always happens to outpace governance in terms of what is needed, and it takes sometimes a very long time for the governance structure to be set up appropriately, right? The legislative part of it. So that is one challenge. A second challenge is that there is still, outside of perhaps Barbados and a couple of the other places, there is a large bank or underbanked population, which certainly doesn't lend towards moving towards a digital or cashless society. So certainly that also creates challenges of its own. And then of course we tend to be bit of what I would call processional caterpillars in a sense, believing that the only solutions that are there is what we've been sold by the Western world. And let me say that I have nothing against Visa or Mastercard, but I also think that while we accept these traditional solutions, there are other viable options out there that can certainly help to ease the crisis, or certainly help to facilitate cross-border payments. These are some of the main, issues that we have, and of course, when we speak of that, and we speak of, the unbanked, there are other areas that surround sometimes us being able to do what we need to do. I think that we are plagued in the Caribbean as well as Africa sometimes for uh, stronger. Let me just say we need stronger connectivity and access, because in many instances, in order to perform online commerce and do what is necessary, one needs to be able to, both for the entrepreneur as well as the consumer, one needs to be able to access you know um, the internet. So certainly, in places, certain areas in the Caribbean, or many places, most places, as well as even in Africa, that becomes a challenge, especially in our more remote areas. And then outside of that, the big white elephant in the room, which has been getting lot of publicity, or has become more and more a focal point, is the complete dependence on the USD for international trade or regional trade. So those are some of what I see are the key issues, of course. And the one last stuff I may say, so the burden, if you would, of AML KYC. There is this whole thing about the anti-money laundering KYC, which of course we understand that the banks in many instances within the region, they are forced to follow certain guidelines, which then stops the average business from being able to open up a bank account in a timely manner. So this is also an issue. We understand that a lot of the rules and regulations that are followed don't necessarily emanate from the region, but based on whatever corresponding banking relationships that they may have overseas. But while in the United States, anyone can, once you have a registered and legal entity, you can walk in and out of a bank and open and walk away with an established business account within half an hour in most instances, while unfortunately it takes sometimes months, no exaggeration, to be able to have a said, business account.
Okay. Thank you so much. I'm going to ask you one question, and then I turn over to Ambassador Wiggins. And your firm Gifts is a partner with Connect Caribe, and we're looking at cross-border payment solutions. So, just in a 1 minute answer, could you let me know, or let the audience know, what type of solutions would be coming from our partnership in the next few months? Just
Sure.
give us.
So the name of our company says it all. Global Integrated FinTech Solutions. And what we had proposed to you, and you had the foresight and the vision to see where we were coming from, is to pretty much integrate a few systems that we do have that covers the entire gamut, not just with payments, but emanating with the first instance of it of know your customer, by certainly creating what we would refer to as a closed loop method of payments, whereby there will not be the need to spend cash on board the ferry service. The robust reporting that we have that will allow you to see which routes are most profitable. Certainly from the restaurant, it gives you the types of business intelligence that you would need to make informed decisions. And then, of course, on the payment side, we've made payments, easy we will be allowing uh, several different forms of payment. So doesn't matter whether or not, because we said, and not to be mistaken, or not so that no one thinks that we're trying to create a fiat currency, but what we're speaking about is an environment within which the spending is controlled and the settlement can take place. The ease of facilitation, and also allowing people to be able to control that spend on board. So it's about creating that customer experience as well, from the point of application or reservation, I should say, right on through to exiting. Be it also the connection that we have spoken about with passenger manifests and things, documents of that nature, to be integrated with the various customs agencies across the region.
Thank you. Ambassador.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Thomas. Dave, given all that you have just said, what exactly do you require from governments in the region to be able to facilitate this online banking, online fintech solutions? That's number one. And number two, which is a little bit similar, what marketing strategies do you intend to put in place, not only for governments now, but for the end user, the consumers who will be using the ferries for both pleasure and business? Because you have to convince them.
Well, certainly. And let me just take the second question first. As it relates to marketing, I think this is something that we will be doing in conjunction with Connect Caribe to, certainly, number one, target the customers. But yeah, we will run, I believe, an awareness campaign. And what it is going to be very customer centric. And customer centric, look, there's a saying that goes, your consumers, your best word of mouth advertising is your strongest set of marketing. But by focusing on the customer experience and the ease of facilitation by which they're able, as I said, to handle everything from reservation right on through to exiting the ferry, that is one of the key areas. Of course, Ambassador has all kinds of robust plans, which we will support with respect to social media, where we have to catch, and utilizing all of the various channels of marketing collaboratively. We will do so and support such, however we can, with not just the solutions, but the technical solution, but the suite of analytics and analytical tools. Now,
I'm going to hop in here,
something
Dave.
there.
I'm
Yes,
going to have to hear Dave and give you an opportunity to build on those thoughts a little bit later in the program.
absolutely.
So we'll give you an opportunity to and Ambassador to fully expand on those points raised. I mean, it's a whole lot to unpack, but we're out of time here for this segment. But I want to thank you, Dave, of Global Integrated FinTech Solutions. Lots of food for thought to unpack and build on. We'll be right back, coming up with John Denon, and he's been talking about connecting the dots, probably touching on some of the things that was raised with Ambassador Thomas in Connect Caribbean World. But we'll be right back after these messages.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. United is recovering quickly from deep price cuts across the industry that we saw over the summer when seats were open. Reporting after the bell, United's earnings beat estimates, and the airline also authorized a $1.5 billion share buyback. Delta Airlines is sprucing up its airplane cabins. The colors are being changed from bright blue to navy and gray with subtle red accents. The company says it's using new seating materials as well and installing calmer lighting. The changes will debut on Boeing 757s later this fall, followed by wide-body Airbus A350s early next year. After months of tweaking the deal, NFL owners have voted to approve Tom Brady and Knighthead Capital Management co-founder Tom Wagner buying a 10% stake in the Las Vegas Raiders. Brady would be the only broadcaster who's part of an NFL team, and for that reason, certain restrictions were placed on his involvement with team activities. I'm Nancy Lyons, Bloomberg.
How do nations rise to greatness, even in adversity? Leading nations into economic dignity reveals the leadership mindset behind national success. This isn't about formulas, it's about leadership. Discover the philosophy that can transform any nation, large or small, through strategic, creative, and reflective thinking. Written in an accessible wisdom style, this book expands mental paradigms, evoking new possibilities for national development to shape a prosperous future. Get your copy today, available on Amazon, and sculpt a future of national greatness.
With a Bloomberg Small Business Report, I'm John Tucker, sponsored by Chase for Business. Make more of what's yours, JP Morgan Chase Bank, and a member FDIC. Expanding tax credits for employers that provide family-friendly benefits has emerged as a rare point of compromise on Capitol Hill. Members on both sides of the aisle propose boosting existing tax incentives to employers, providing paid parental and medical leave and child care benefits to their workers. While on the books for a few years, some of these tax breaks haven't been used to their full capacity and leave out many businesses. Tax policy will be at the top of the legislative agenda next year, regardless of how the November elections turn out. The U.S. has long lagged its sister industrialized nations in providing paid leave and child care, but as workers increasingly call out the need for policies that make family building more affordable, lawmakers are looking for ways to encourage employers to make these benefits widely available. And that's the Bloomberg Small.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Connect the Dots, where we are going to talk about how the interchange among regulatory environments, the technological infrastructure, how we look at collaboration and partnerships and cybersecurity. So to begin the section of Connecting the Dots, I'd go to partnerships and collaboration. Just this morning, Governor Albert Bryant Jr. Signed an historic and unprecedented MOU with Caribe. And what we're looking at is that in the past, the United States and particularly the Virgin Islands has only had associate status in CARICOM. And we're looking for ways where the governments have been unable in the past to connect the dots of all of our disparate countries, 50 nations, if you include Suriname and Guyana now in northern South America. We are looking that the private sector has an opportunity through Caribe to actually connect the nations through the facilitation of a single Caribbean environment for economic development. So when we look at that aspect, the MOU signing this morning enables us to look at the connecting of the Caribbean through 3 hubs. So we'll have a hub in Trinidad and Tobago, we'll have a hub in Barbados, and a hub in St. Croix. So we signed the agreement with Caribe. We had Rafael DeAngelis was here as the co-founder and financial director of the USA, the GCC Uplands Fund. And we looked at different ways of which both of the gentlemen, Rafael and Mr. Anthony Weeks, who's our special envoy for Governor Bryant, and they've been working on this for several years to be able to put together this MOU. So when we looked at what is the infrastructure and how we actually do it, if we get beyond some of the cultural issues that we had with the nations cooperating, we look and say, what are the infrastructure changes and what we're going to do? So we're looking forward to having a ferry service, for example, that will operate inter-island for the transmission of goods, and particularly when we look at the area of food deserts. So we have to have a way that we can take the billions of dollars and the millions of people that are in the Caribbean and have our own economic environment of trade. So it's a ferry hub for cargo and ocean cargo. We formed and trademarked Port St. Croix, and we have several port facilities with the refinery and Renaissance Park and our molasses pier where we can take in shipments and cross-dock. We are exempt from the Jones Act, so people in cargo shipping can take advantage of that. We're looking as we improve our airports. We have an 11,000-foot runway, and to be able to look at bringing in cargo from New York and Africa and the Middle East to be able to expand the nature of trade as we go through looking at this opportunity. So when we look at connecting the dots, we need to have infrastructure. We talked about the scarcity of internet, of access, of banking, and we're looking at, we have in our company established a license with the World Trade Center organization for World Trade Center Frederiksted, and we hope to provide the data and documents necessary to do some of the things that David had talked about in the earlier section with the ambassador. And so if we can have a way to get this, the nations collaboratively exchanging data and documents in multiple languages and multiple formats and structures, going through border police, phytosanitary, weights and measures, customs. Those are things that are from an infrastructure that we can start working on as a private sector initiative, working with Caribe. Ambassador Thomas, would you like to add to what we're saying? Because this was a great morning with the governor, government house.
Yes, it certainly was. We felt that today, in the history of Connect Caribbean, today was a major milestone, signing the agreement with the governor of the U.S. Virgin Islands for the creation of this hub to add to the hub of Barbados and Trinidad. Is going to be game changing for the region, and it's going to allow U.S. Caribbean trade to significantly benefit Caribbean people in a much higher way. So I think it's absolutely historic. And I also saw the opportunities for agriculture, the agriculture opportunities that are created where we can leverage U.S. expertise, insert it in the hub in St. Croix, and have agricultural goods go to and fro from St. Croix to the Caribbean and vice versa. So I think it's a historic day. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think in building on your point about agriculture, when we look at agriculture as the agricultural supply chains, we have different things that have constrained us in the past with looking at going through APHIS and different things that happen in the U.S. when cargo has to go to the U.S. mainland and then back to the Caribbean. So when we look at particularly in the hubs, if we're talking about Trinidad and Tobago and Barbados and the Virgin Islands, we can do agricultural manufacturing and product build. So for example, we can bring mangoes in and we can make sauces and juices out of that. We can, package different things, not only for cross-Caribbean trade, but also for the many Caribbean natives that are in the mainland of the United States and located all over the world. So that aspect of being able to build this single economic environment, that's the key to connecting the dots. Because once we start looking collaboratively and saying, how do we work with one another? I mean, we have 50 nations here. And so when we look at the United States, or we look at NATO, or we look at the European Union, or what they're doing now with BRICS nations, they're looking at ways to collaborate with each other. We have so many resources here in the Caribbean that if we just start working together, and today was just so wonderful. I've been working on this area for 20 years since I came back home to St. Croix after teaching at Harvard Business School about supply chain and logistics and building information age businesses. And we have the infrastructure now to support that with the internet, with AIDC devices and smartphones that can get us past some of the regulatory environments. And particularly, as we talked about in the last section, with banking, we have to be able to have a banking system that supports us and takes us away from that banking desert, because we don't have the same resources. We don't have the ability to get loans and mortgages and insurance with our capabilities. So we wind up with an environment where, like locally in St. Croix, we can't get the banking, we can't get the financing, but we have people coming in from outside of the territory in the United States that can get those banking relationships and can get those monies and bring them in. And so we're relying on outsiders bringing money in rather than looking at the economic clout that we have among ourselves.
As you were saying this, I'm thinking that one of the key areas that we are working on and is the FinTech solutions, because for the small business, even the medium-sized business, to participate in this maritime logistics supply chain corridor that we are creating right now, a major area that we need to cross is cross-border payments, because you're looking at multiple currencies along multiple jurisdictions. And we now have, Jennifer, who is going to take us to our next section. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you very much. That was Connecting the Dots with John Cadenin and Ambassador Dr. Andre Thomas joining. Certainly a lot of key considerations for the deployment of FinTech in the CARICOM region. So we definitely looking forward to hearing Ambassador Alfred Wiggins' answer to the question posed in Connect Caribbean World about what we require. We talk about that right now. My guest, Kurt Prasad.
This is the Bloomberg Real Estate Report. I'm Denise Pellegrini. October can be a very good month to sign a contract to buy a home, because usually it's the month where you see the greatest share of homes going under contract with the price cut, but it's not clear if that's going to be the case this year, because buyer excitement about lower mortgage rates may be keeping demand high. Zillow says at this point it looks like nationwide home prices are up about 2.4% year on year, and currently about 25% of listings have price cuts, but it's a tougher market for buyers in some places. Home prices in Los Angeles are up more than 5% on the year, and only 21% of homes listed have price cuts. You might try in San Diego instead, because it could be a little bit easier for home buyers there. Home prices are up about 5% year on year, but 27% of homes listed in San Diego had a price cut. Riverside could be a little bit easier. Homes there are sitting on the market just a little bit longer. And that's the Bloomberg Real Estate Report. I'm Denise Pellegrini.
Welcome back to Connect Caribbean Report in the Spotlight segment. And in the Spotlight is where we chat with local, regional, and international guests to talk about relevant topics and gain insight from their experiences in the Caribbean. My guest today is Kurt Prasad, a Barbadian entrepreneur and co-founder and chief technological officer of FinTech Islands. With over 20 years of expertise in information technology, specializing in web-based and mobile interactive enterprise solutions, he holds a bachelor's degree in computer science and physics, as well as a master's degree in systems and industrial engineering. And Kurt has extensive experience across all phases of the product development life cycle, including software quality engineering, test management, and project management practices. He's highly skilled in developing technology strategies and roadmaps, identifying and resolving project risk issues, and managing change effectively. Welcome, Kurt, to Connect Caribbean Report in the Spotlight. It's great to have you here with us today.
Thank you for having me, Jennifer.
You're certainly welcome. So let's jump right into these questions. You've heard all the discussion gone before, and I'm sure that you have quite a bit that you want to contribute to the theme on today's program. But you created a global platform that brings together a community of disruptive and innovative leaders that are redefining financial technology. So I want you to tell us a little bit about yourself in about the first minute or so, and then I want to find out from you what inspired the creation of FinTech Islands and how does it specifically address the unique financial and technological challenges faced here in the Caribbean.
Yeah, thank you for that. So I think, the basis and, the creation of FinTech Islands came out of a desire to kind of give back to Barbados specifically and the region as a whole. I left when I was in my 20s, and I lived abroad, and I've worked with several corporations in the US and gained a lot of experience and knowledge in the technology space. And I was looking for a way to kind of give back, lend that knowledge, lend that experience back to not only Barbados, but the region as a whole, because I think a lot of the challenges that we face are not unique to Barbados specifically, but it's very regional, right? And that was kind of like the impetus and the idea behind trying to start this platform, FinTech Islands. And basically, we started off as a conference, which is basically a mechanism. The conference is simply the vehicle by which we're trying to accomplish our goal and which we're trying to build a platform. And the real vision for that was around bringing a community of disruptive, innovative leaders that can redefine financial services and the financial market and the FinTech space in general. And you may ask, well, why FinTech? There's a lot of technology debt, if you will, when it comes to the Caribbean. Why FinTech? The reason that we kind of honed in on FinTech is because we think of all of the technology gaps or deficit that we have, that one has the most impact to do good, to be able to normalize a lot of the challenges that we have in the region, and also to kind of create a somewhat level playing field for all of the communities within those islands, right?
Okay.
And then the second part of it was to create a catalyst for building upon that, to create a catalyst for more financial inclusion and financial system in the Caribbean and the region as a whole.
That's great, Kurt. I think you're really off. I think this is in the third year that you're hosting the FinTech Island. So my next question for you is then, based on the first two FinTech conferences, what have you found are the biggest gaps in financial inclusion and digital transformation in the Caribbean that the FinTech Islands aims to bridge? And how are these solutions being implemented?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of them. I'll just touch on a few of them. One of the big finders, one of the things that we've found over the past couple of years is that access to financial services is a big challenge. There's a significant amount of the population within the Caribbean region in general that are either unbanked or underbanked. And that has a ripple effect not only on the economy, but also on the well-being and the financial well-being of those individuals, right? So that's one transaction fees. and remittances. I think this is one of the things that people become shell shocked, or they become, wary of the system because of all the fees that some of the financial institutions implement. But also remittances is also a big challenge because, believe it or not, one of the biggest financial boosters for the Caribbean region is supplied or supported from the diaspora, right? With all the remittances coming back to the islands. And there's a lot of tools and a lot of platforms that are out there that are in general, more globally recognized, but that people use that have high fees. So there's a challenge for that as well. The other challenge, which some of the previous guests spoke about, is around cross-border payments. So, payment wallets and the ability to transact from island to island. That has not been effectively normalized as yet. There's several wallets that are in place that different islands have developed, but there's not one that is very uniform or a very uniform way for those wallets to transact. So if you're a consumer, you may have to have 3 or 4 wallets, depending on who you're working with, who you're transacting with, which business you're dealing with, which banks you're dealing with. That is highly inefficient, and you can see how that would be very problematic for people that are generally not trusting of technology and the financial service in general, right? Right. And then the other challenge that I think we have is around the financial literacy, which is another big area that we focus on, trying to grow the financial literacy, trying to make people understand some of the basic fundamentals of financing, banking, investing, etc. And building that from the ground up, right, from the youngest students to the oldest member of society.
Yeah, I can see a lot of stakeholders, based on what you're saying, that needs to get involved to lock arms and make this happen. But I want to get in one more question, and then in Connected Voices, I want to get Dave's response to Ambassador's question about what governments can do. But my last question to you, Kurt, is how do you see then FinTech innovations influencing economic growth, development in the Caribbean, particularly for undeserved populations and small businesses who need to be part of the whole ecosystem of digital transformation?
Yeah, I think it can be very transformative. I think it's something that if done right and if tackled right, and if you create a grassroots movement with it, can drive economic growth, right? And sustainable economic growth. There's in the world, there's a big wealth gap that's happening right now. And, the one way, people put out there's like some, wealth distribution. Well, wealth distribution is only a short-term impact. It's something that will last a couple of years and then, it will go back to the same status quo. I think the way to really solve this is through a sustainable effort where you're looking at financial inclusion, financial literacy, access not only to financial services, but access to credit is another big problem. People that are typically going for loans do not meet traditional requirements for loans, right? So creating another market. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm going to have to wrap it up there and bring you back into, make your point continue your point in Connected Voices. So stay tuned, don't go away. We'll be right back with Connected Voices. That was Kurt Prasad. He's a Barbadian entrepreneur and co-founder and chief technological officer of FinTech Islands. And he'll be joining us again along with our hosts to talk a little bit more in Connected Voices on the topic FinTech solutions. We'll be right back after these messages.
With the Bloomberg Business of Sports Report, I'm Michael Barr. Toyota is returning to Formula One after 15 years as the Japanese automaker becomes a technical partner of American racing team Haas. There will be Toyota branding on the Haas car starting at the U.S. Grand Prix in Austin, Texas, and the Auto Giants Racing Division will provide design, technical, and manufacturing services to the North Carolina-based team. In Britain, the man leading rugby's multi-million-pound brain injury lawsuits has been accused in court of pressuring a former England international to lie about having dementia. According to The Telegraph, a hearing raises questions about how solicitor Richard Boardman recruits potentially vulnerable ex-players to join his no-win, no-fee action. It emerged his law firm sued Will Green for thousands in legal and medical costs after he refused to sign up to the landmark litigation. With the Bloomberg Business of Sports Report, I'm Michael Barr, brought to you by
Are you a political leader or aspire to be one? The Political Visionary is the ultimate guide for you. Unlock leadership wisdom that goes beyond politics. Cultivate a culturally intelligent model of governance, tailored to the needs of your town, city, or nation. This book equips you to create a safe and prosperous society with insights from history that ignite innovation. Motivational, principle-centered, and future-focused. The Political Visionary, authored by Ambassador Dr. Andre Thomas, is your blueprint for transformative leadership. Get your copy today, available on Amazon, and begin to lead the change.
Reimagine a world where the Caribbean is seamlessly connected, where our people, our cultures, and our economies move freely across the islands. This is Connect Caribe, more than a ferry service. It's the heartbeat of a new era, an era where economic opportunities expand, where trade flows freely across our seas, and cultural exchange flourishes. We are linking businesses, empowering communities, and reigniting the hope for a truly integrated Caribbean. Together, we're shaping a brighter, more unified future for the Caribbean. Connect Caribbean, connecting our islands, our people, our future.
Welcome back to Connect Caribbean Report, and we are in the segment Connected Voices. And in Connected Voices, we take a look back at all of the segments and the discussions, and we bring our viewers in and conversations. So certainly we want to definitely start off by getting the answer to that question Ambassador Althea Wiggins posed to our guest, Dave. Because we've looked at digital literacy and financial inclusion. We talked about technological infrastructure, collaboration, and partnerships, but we really need to talk about the regulatory framework. So I'm looking forward to hearing the answer to that question. But
So
Dave,
you think you first of all hit the nail on the head. I think the question was, how can governments help? And first of all, I want to concur with a lot of what Kurt put out there. I'm absolutely in alignment, with that. But respect to that, I think that the regulatory framework, as we said, it is no secret that technology always has and always will outpace the regulatory framework. So I think there probably need to be a bit more agile. Number one. Number two, I think that instead of looking at the whole some of these challenges at a local level, they should probably be tackled on a regional level, because then you don't have this whole scenario whereby a particular system is approved for use in Trinidad or Jamaica and then cannot be used in Barbados because of that. So I think that if you're really to live up to the true essence of Caribbean single market and economy, that we have to be collaborative in the approach as far as legislation for allowing some of these types of cross-border solutions, to take place. Obviously, good governance is important. No one is saying that you negate that, but it is also important if we are to move ahead as a region. And look, great comfort can be taken, for example, of two other instances that have been set up. We have, for example, across Africa, the Pan-African payment system, which covers 54 African countries, all being able to correct settlement, which we are at IFS are working closely with. And then there's also, for example, the BRICS, right? BRICS Pay is also emerging as another group of countries that, for settlement. Of course, for those who don't know, BRICS is that group of countries: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. So again, similarly to what BRICS has done, I think that we have to be collaborative in our approach as far as getting these governments to collaborate and to agree as to what the way would be, so as to help facilitate trade, which is such an important part of what Connect Caribe is trying to do.
Yeah. Thank you, Dave, for that contribution. One of the things that we really didn't get to touch on, and I hope that you can speak to it very quickly, John, is the issue of the cyber security. And then I'm going to just segue over to Ambassador Thomas and see how he is preparing his e-commerce platform on Connect Caribbean eShops, where cybersecurity is really the top, is trending now because of certain issues that are happening in the market. So, John, tell us about the cybersecurity. What's your perspective there? And Dr. Thomas can follow up with how he's preparing the Connect Caribbean ferry on the issue of e-commerce and cybersecurity.
Thank you, Jennifer. I think for me, and I think you know that I'm on the EMP Task Force for National Homeland Security within the United States. And what we are looking at is this basic infrastructure that is vulnerable now to tempest hazards and other things that are going on. We all know of different hostage situations where people have used different types of worms and cyber attacks on their business and their economy. And so when we're in our infancy of just being able to have the kinds of interconnection and banking and providing information of our businesses on the worldwide net, the dark web is able to infiltrate some of those things. So they're stealing identities, social security numbers, and also the infrastructure and the impact of the grid. So if the grid is not hardened, then we're susceptible to power outages and internet disruptions. And so as we count more and more on the infrastructure of the World Wide Web and the internet and what we can do with this economy and the exchange of data in multiple formats and structures, and we enhance the diaspora of being able to do the trade among the languages, we have to, we're vulnerable. And we're vulnerable in a big way because of this connection to education, because we're not educated in not only how to use the various wallets and the transfer of information, of money between, but the bankers are suspect of us as a culture. So we don't have the same rights as banks in other parts of the world, and we're on multiple no trade lists and things that inhibit our ability to raise funds and or to transfer information. So I think it's a critical element that sort of overshadows what we're trying to do as a single economy because of the issues of cybersecurity that come hand in hand with our educating ourselves about how to use these new tools that entrepreneurs have brought up.
Thank you. Ambassador Thomas?
Yeah, our approach really is forming strategic partnerships. Our partnership with the U.S. Virgin Islands private sector leaders, with the government of the U.S. Virgin Islands, would help in this area because we're going to leverage the cybersecurity experience, okay, that exists. We also are actually working with Dave's company, Gifts, in terms of creating the cybersecurity shield. So our approach is to leverage the experience of our partners to provide a robust cybersecurity shield around the ferry service, around the cargo service, and particularly the e-commerce service. Yeah.
Thank you, Ambassador Thomas. Special Envoy Alfie Wiggins, you've heard Dave's response to your question. What is currently being implemented that you can certainly speak to that addresses some of the things that he raised? What is government doing when you look at the big FinTech solutions?
In terms of Barbados, as you're aware, and you did mention it as well, the whole aspect of cybersecurity. I think what the Barbados government is currently doing is strengthening our cybersecurity networks so that when we go fully online and fully paying our bills, fintech, everything, that there is no infiltration, because it is very, very easy when you put your card online to pay whatever, that it can easily be infiltrated. 10 years ago, my card was infiltrated when it was in London, um, saying that I paid for a flight somewhere and I didn't. So that was 10 years ago. And I can tell you that the persons who infiltrate your accounts, they are stronger now than ever. But I'm one of those persons that believe that the same person who writes the virus writes the antivirus. So I don't get very concerned and confused when they tell you to strengthen your passwords and do all of that, because I know that if anyone wants to infiltrate, whether it's your bank account, whether it's your computer, anywhere, they can do it. So I don't get perturbed about it. But what I really wanted to ask Dave in relation to that, what role do you see like influencers playing in convincing not the government itself, but the people to use these online solutions to pay? Because with Connect Caribe, people will be booking this ferry from all over the world. So we would have to use some influencers to convince them not only about the ferry, but it is safe and that the online environment, the platforms are safe to use. So that's your
Well,
question, Dave.
I have to close out the program. We're out of time, but I just want to say that we have an opportunity to bring all the stakeholders together and get that particular question answered with the upcoming FinTech Expo, bringing all these stakeholders and partners together to really address all of the questions that was raised here. I mean, sure, so much to talk about, so much to discuss, so much to put that we put on the table, but unfortunately, we're out of time. I want to thank my guest today, Kurt Prasad. He is the co-founder and CTO of FinTech Islands. Thank you so much, Dave Sahada, for joining us, founder of and executive chairman of GIFTS, and my co-host, President and CEO John Padenin of the IC Group, Ambassador Thomas, chairman and CEO of Connect Caribe, and thank you very much to Special Envoy Althea Wiggins for joining us again. Thank you so much for your contribution. And yeah, certainly we are looking forward to the next show, and hopefully we can probably get a few questions and sneak a few questions and answers in that we didn't get to speak on today. But we're out of time, but so thank you very much for joining us, all the listeners and viewers. Thank you for joining us on Connect Caribe Report. And we'll see you right back here next week, Wednesday, ASD 1:30 for Connect Caribe and Connect Caribe Report. Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.